Minimalism has shown me how easy it is to fill our lives with stuff we don't need. Over the past few years, I've been letting go of a lot of excess things to focus my time and money on what truly brings me joy. So here are 50 things I no longer buy as a minimalist to save money and simplify my life. Paper books. I used to buy a lot of paper books back in the day. It's all I knew. My parents have bookshelves and bookshelves full of books, so I did the same thing. But when I traveled to Thailand for the first time, I bought an e-reader, and that was a real game changer because I realized I can access any book I want from anywhere in the world and it weighs nothing, and I can bring it with me anywhere. So ever since I've been a fan of e-readers, I rarely buy paper books anymore. Sometimes I do because I do still miss the tactile feel of the books, smells good, but I'd say 95% of the books that I read now are on my e-reader. Coffee machine. I used to have an espresso coffee machine, and although I liked the convenience of it, and also kind of liked the taste at the time, what I didn't like was how much waste those little cups generated. When I was first introduced to filter coffee, I was immediately sold. It tasted amazing because of the variety of quality beans that were used, and it was also a lot less wasteful. Methods like 360, Chemex, and AeroPress. I ended up going for the AeroPress because not only did it make me amazing coffee, it's also light and durable and easy to travel with. Coffee beans. Unfortunately, I don't drink much coffee anymore these days because I had a stomach issue that led me to really cut back on my caffeine use. So now coffee is really a treat. It's something that I may drink once on the weekend when we go out for brunch. I don't have coffee beans at home anymore, but it does save me some money. Hair products. I've never been a big user of hair products. My hair is simple. I don't dye my hair, I don't use conditioner, just a simple shampoo is what does it for me. And I'm also thinning at the top. It's not something I'm too happy about, but it's just a fact of life. And at least it means I won't have to spend any money on hair products at some point in the future anymore. New car. A new car costs a lot of money. And it's such a bad investment. The moment you drive it out of the dealership, it loses 20% of its retail value. So it makes so much more sense to buy a second-hand car. Now, I haven't owned a car at all for, I think, 14 years, and it's great. I don't have to worry about maintenance. I don't have to pay for insurance, for gas, for parking fees. Now, I will say in my case, I can get by without a car. I realized that's not the same for everyone. But where I live, I can go to most places that I need to go, just walking or taking bicycle or public transport. And if I really need a car, I can always rent it. Jewelry. When it comes to jewelry, I've always been a minimalist. When I was 16, 17, I had this brief phase where I wore a silver necklace, but that's basically the only jewelry I've ever worn in my life. And even at that time in the 90s, well, my brothers, they wore earrings, which was very popular at that time. I never felt drawn to it. I also don't have any tattoos. New phone. These days, when you buy a new phone, that phone is not much better than last year's phone. It's just incremental improvements. So you can really use your phone for a lot longer than back in the day. I had an iPhone 6 Plus, and that did great for a couple of years. But then, maybe you've heard of Batterygate. Apple started to really slow down the battery life, and that really affected my phone. It would run out of juice in a couple of hours. So I felt like this is a good time to buy a new phone. I also wanted a new phone because I was starting this YouTube channel, and I didn't want to be held back by gear. So I decided, I kind of want a new phone anyway. Let's use that phone to record my videos on. And that was an iPhone 12. That phone, or 12 Max, I think it's a 12 Max. That phone I still use. I'm recording this video on that phone now, and that phone is 4.5 years old. It still works fine. Phone case. So when I bought my iPhone, I did buy a case. It's this one. I can show you this. It's not attached to the phone that I'm recording on. But that's the only case I have. It's super basic. It's just black, nothing fancy. I don't feel like buying, 10 different trendy covers, one with Mickey Mouse on it, one with sunflowers, different cases for different seasons. Just seems like a waste of money to me. Food delivery apps. When I cook at home, I prefer to eat homemade meals. Then tastes better than anything I order. Also, when you order something on the food delivery apps, I find that often the prices are inflated, somehow you're paying for the delivery. And then if I'm ordering food from a restaurant, I'd rather go to the restaurant and have the full restaurant experience instead of just ordering it on an app. Prepackaged snacks. I'm trying to eat less processed foods. A lot of prepackaged snacks like chips, cookies, and all the other snacks that you find on the shelves at supermarkets contain ingredients that aren't great for you, like sugar and added preservatives. When it comes to snacks, I prefer to make my own, like coconut balls or homemade banana bread. I will know what the ingredients are, because I made it myself. Paper calendar. So I haven't used a paper calendar since I think I was a student when we had a paper calendar in our communal kitchen. I use Google Calendar. I find it much more convenient. If I book a flight or make a reservation for a restaurant and I get the confirmation, it will automatically show up in my Google Calendar. And it's also easier to invite other people to an event. I can just send them an email from the event. Magazine subscriptions. So 10, 15 years ago, I had subscriptions to a number of magazines. Magazine about interior design, one about music, one with recipes, and one about Australia, because I was thinking about going to Australia for a year, and I really wanted to immerse myself in that country and learn everything there was about it. Now I don't have any subscriptions to magazines anymore, because I found like a lot of those magazines I didn't actually read. Maybe I just flipped through it. There was recipe magazines, for instance, and maybe I'd made 1 or 2 recipes, and then they just piled up. Now if I really want to read a magazine, I may buy it. For instance, I live abroad, but when I'm back in the Netherlands, where I'm from, I may buy an Elsevier magazine just for all time's sake, out of nostalgia, I suppose. And I also still like to read this magazine called Meester. It's a Dutch glossy for lawyers. Smartwatch. I don't really get the point of wearing a smartwatch. Like, I'm not a jewelry person anyway. Like, I don't have any watch here. And for some men, it's this big thing. They want to buy these expensive watches. I couldn't care less. And a smartwatch, specifically, I just don't really get it. Like, all the things that happen on that smartwatch are sent to your phone, right? So like, why do you need a smartwatch for that? I already have a phone. Productivity planner. I tried many productivity planners, most recently Cole Newport's Time Block Planner. And although it's pretty good, I think for my use case, it's just overkill. I don't really need it. My work is not that complicated. And what I ended up doing was that's how the time block method works. You do these boxes, and then if something changes during your day, you strike it through, and then you go here. I just found it kind of annoying. I don't need to optimize my day that much for me to have a productive day. So what I found works best for me is to just have a simple to-do list in Apple Notes, and as the day progresses or as the week progresses, I can just update it, tweak it based on things that come up. Candy. So I'm one of those people that has a sweet tooth. When I was younger, I loved candy. And even when I worked as a lawyer, like around 3, 4 p.m., I would have this sugar crash, or I don't know, maybe it was just a caffeine crash because I was drinking quite a bit of coffee at that time. And sometimes I would sneak out of the office to go to a candy store and just get me some candy and eat it behind my desk. And of course, it gave me an insulin spike. Terrible. So right now, I don't eat any candy anymore. The only sweet stuff I still eat is occasionally a slice of cake. I love cake, or maybe a dessert after dinner. Bathrobe. So I don't really get what the deal is with bathrobes. I never owned one. The only times I wore one was when I was in a hotel or spa or something. But at home, I don't want to wear it. I feel like Hugh Hefner, and that is not a role model of mine. If I take a shower and I'm done, I'll just dry myself, and if I want to feel comfortable, I'll put on sweatpants. I love sweatpants. But a bathrobe, no. Amazon Prime. So I don't pay for Amazon Prime because I don't mind waiting another day. Here in Europe, it doesn't make that much of a difference. And I can imagine it may be different in the US because the country is so much bigger. But, here it's not a game changer. And I also don't really need the additional benefits like Amazon Prime video streaming services. I don't really care about. And if I spend more than €40, I get free delivery anyway. And I feel like if I have a Prime membership, I feel more inclined to go buy stuff on Amazon and to just even buy stuff that I don't actually need. I'm like, well, it's free anyway and it'll be here tomorrow. It's not really a state of mind that I want to be in. Extended warranties. So in my view, extended warranties are a way for companies to make extra money off you. They don't count on you actually using that. I don't want to pay for that. I feel if I buy something that's of high quality, I get the normal warranty, and I kind of count on the fact that it will last long enough because I put a lot of thought into picking this particular item. It's good quality, otherwise I wouldn't buy it, and I don't feel I need the extended warranty. Toaster. Although I'm Dutch and I grew up on a diet of broodje kaas, which is a sandwich with cheese, I don't eat a lot of bread anymore these days. So I don't really have a need for a toaster. On the rare occasions that I do want to toast bread, I can just put it in a pan or I'll throw it in the oven. Seasonal decorations. So I'm not a fan of single-use items that you only use once a year and the rest of the year you store them away. Things like Christmas lights or ornaments that go on the tree, or with Easter you got the yellow chicks or the painted eggs. Those things look cute and gezellig, as we say in Dutch, but the rest of the year they're just somewhere out of sight. And that takes up a lot of space that I don't have. Like, I don't have a garage, I don't have a basement or an attic, I don't even have a big pantry or an extra room to store things. So I want to be mindful of items that I want to bring into the house. And the first things that I want to dispose of, if they're here in the first place, are things that, are just stored away for 95% of the year. Plastic straws. Plastic straws are terrible for the environment. The ocean is full of them, and I've seen these terrible images of what it does to the ocean life, and I don't want to contribute to that. So when I go somewhere out for dinner or for breakfast and I order a drink that comes with a straw, I ask for a paper or a bamboo straw. And at home we have these aluminum straws, which they're easy to clean, and we can also reuse them. Fake plants. In my old apartment, I only had fake plants. And the reason for that was that I sometimes would be away for months on end, and I worried that real plants would die. But they felt lifeless, and they looked fake, they looked the part. In our new apartment, we went for real plants, like the one behind me, and we also gave them names. This is Bella. This plant is Ziggy Marlifi, because it gave us reggae vibes. This is George from the Jungle, because these things here, they kind of reminded us of lianas. This is Matsumoto. He used to keep guard in our hallway. We pictured him as our own little samurai who would scare the bad guys away. Unfortunately, Matsu was struggling with the lack of daylight there, so we moved into my girlfriend's office, where he's now thriving and keeping the bad guys away. And finally, this is Sven. This is my personal plant in my own office, and I had trouble coming up with a name. In the meantime, my girlfriend started calling it Sven. I said, stop calling it Sven, it doesn't have a name yet. But of course the name stuck, and in the end, well, this is Sven. I love the look of them. Each has their own character, they make me feel calm, and they also purify the air. Knickknacks. When I first started living on my own, I was super excited. Every weekend I would go to the mall to buy things for my empty apartment. At first, the things I really needed, like a bed, a sofa, and a dining table. But as I spent weekend after weekend in the stores, I also started buying a lot of knickknacks. Those things, they look great in the store, but with time, I realized I didn't actually like them so much in my own place. So when I learned about minimalism, those were the first things that had to go. Now I only have very few left. I have this Totoro figurine from one of my favorite movies, and I have this little toy guitar. Oh, I'll keep it like this. It says Noel Gallagher here. I bought this in London in 2012. I really like this one. Oasis is my favorite band. So I guess there are knickknacks, but those are things that are personal to me too. I really want to keep those. Oh, and by the way, if you're interested in minimalism but don't know where to begin, you can download my free How to Get Started with Minimalism checklist in the description below. Souvenirs. I love traveling, visiting new places, exploring different cultures, trying out new food, and I cherish my memories of those experiences. Check out this view. This is insane. But what I do not cherish is all the cheap souvenirs that I brought home with me. You know the kind, a bag with the name of a city on it, a cheap keychain, a mug, or a placemat of a painting I saw in a museum. When I bought those souvenirs, I guess I did so as a way of holding on to the experience. I could be wowed by a painting, so that made me want to buy a mug with that painting on it. However, what minimalism made me see is that those souvenirs can't capture and preserve the essence of that experience. And over time, those souvenirs just became one more meaningless thing that took up space in my apartment. So I don't buy souvenirs anymore. The only exception I make is for things that ease the transition when I come back home. And for me that centers around food. So for Portugal that could be a pastel de nata, one sweet bite to eat at home to commemorate that wonderful trip I just had. Or if I'd gone to Italy, it could be a nice bottle of olive oil. Items on sale I don't need. I'm not against buying things at a discount, not at all. Like I recently bought this jumper that I'm wearing right now at 50% discount, and I love it. But what I am wary of is impulse buys. We've all been there. You're in a shop and oh, it's discounted and it looks cute, let's bring it home. But those things, they tend to just pile up in a corner of your closet, gathering dust. I remember reading Fumio Sasaki's book Goodbye Things, and he talks about the silent to-do list. And the idea is that everything in your house has needs and wants. It's like it has a personality and wants to be taken care of. A humidifier wants to humidify. It doesn't want to just be tucked away in a closet. This is true for everything you bring in your house. I want to be mindful of those things. So I'm very wary of impulse buys. If I go to a shop, I tend to go there because I already have something in mind that I want to buy. So for instance, with this jumper, I didn't know this particular jumper was on sale, but I knew clothing items were on sale and I needed a new jumper. So then I went to the store with a specific item that I wanted to buy in mind, and I only bought that. Newspaper subscriptions. A long time ago, I had a subscription to a newspaper, but most days I didn't actually have time to read it because of my busy job as a lawyer, so the papers would just pile up during the week. These days, I prefer to not read the news on a daily basis because I just don't like the state of mind that it puts me in. It's often so negative, and I feel I don't need to check the news on a daily basis to be informed of what's going on in the world. Now I limit my news take to maybe once a week or once or twice every month, and for that I'll just check the news sites online. Digital news subscriptions. And for the same reason, I also don't subscribe to any digital news subscriptions. Bottled water. When I lived in Thailand, I only drank bottled water because the tap water wasn't drinkable. So I would take my scooter to the local 7-Eleven every week or so to buy one or two of those big, 6-8 liter bottles of water. Where I live now, back in Europe, I can't drink the tap water. But we do use a filter to purify it and also because it improves the taste. Cable TV. I think the last time I had cable TV was 2012, 2013. I really don't like it, just flipping through the channels, trying to find something on. I'd like to be intentional about what I watch. I'll never forget, many years ago when I lived with a roommate for the last time, we were watching TV, I had the remote control and there was literally nothing on. I was flipping through the channels with like 30, 40 channels. I flipped through all of them like 3 times, nothing interesting. So I was like, you know what, let's just be crazy, let's turn off the TV. And as I did, my roommate, who was like half asleep on the couch, he like woke up and he's like, give me the remote control. Like, I'm sure there's something. And then we ended up on, I think, Discovery Channel watching this crab fisher show. And that's when I thought to myself, man, I need to move. I am so done with this. DVD player. I used to have boxes full of DVDs. And besides a few concert videos, most of these DVDs were movies that I would only watch once. And they weren't even like my favorite movies necessarily, because I would often buy these DVDs when they were at a discount somewhere. So when I learned about minimalism, I decluttered all of those. I got rid of those, also of my DVD player. Now when I want to watch something, it's always online. Mostly YouTube, sometimes Netflix, and I also really like to read books. Streaming services. I wish there was a Spotify for streaming platforms where you just have one subscription and it was reasonably priced and you could access everything that's interesting that's out there that you want to watch. The landscape is so fragmented and every streaming platform has their own flagship shows. Netflix has Stranger Things, HBO has Game of Thrones and The Penguin, Apple TV has Severance and Ted Lasso, and Disney of course has the Disney movies and Star Wars. So I don't have most of these platforms. The only platform we have is Netflix. If I really badly want to see a show that's available on one of the other platforms, I could take a 30-day trial and watch a show and cancel my trial before it expires. But I'm not going to get subscriptions to all of them. Lots of shoes. So with shoes, you can really go crazy. I think women tend to accumulate more shoes and boots than men do, but I also know some men who have a ton of sneakers. I personally keep it simple. I have 2 pairs of sneakers. One are my nice ones for day-to-day use, and the other one are the sneakers that I use when I go hiking, when it can get muddy. I have my gym shoes. I have 1 pair of black shoes for when I really want to dress up. And then I have my indoor shoes that I wear around the house. That's it. Cookbooks. I'm a foodie. I love eating well. There was a time when my favorite weekend pastime was to go to a bookstore to check out the cookbooks. And so often I would come back home with 2 or 3 of these thick, beautifully photographed cookbooks by, the latest fancy restaurant or some 2-star Michelin chef. But the problem was that I rarely cooked from those books. Because the recipes, they were just too complicated or they required certain ingredients or cooking appliances that I didn't have. So often what I would do is just find a recipe online and I would only just flip through these books because it made me feel good. So when I learned about minimalism and when I realized what I've been doing, I ended up donating all those cookbooks. And now when I cook, which I still love to do, I find my recipes online. And, if I really want to immerse myself in that feeling of the restaurant world, I watch shows like Chef's Table, which is one of my favorite cooking shows. Colored socks. So I only have black socks. I like that it's simple and it pairs with everything. It may be boring to some, but I think for men especially, it's good to mostly wear neutral colors. At least that is my style. Notebooks. I used to journal in paper notebooks, but there's some downsides to that I found. Like with time and as I filled up more and more notebooks, I came this big stack that I didn't really know where to store. I would worry about losing them. And the biggie for me is that I can't search through them. Like I knew I had written about this particular thing or this thought that I had somewhere, but was it in this notebook or that notebook? And if it wasn't this notebook, where? I now use Day One, which is a digital journal. I love that I can journal on it everywhere if I have my laptop or my phone with me. I am not too worried about losing it in a fire or forgetting it somewhere, which I was with my paper notebooks. And what I also love is that I can search through all my entries and I can make my entries more colorful. I can add an audio note, I can add photos, or I can even add a video clip. Generic wall art. Have you ever walked into someone's apartment or an Airbnb and you're like, oh, because you recognize the wall art, it was so generic? Maybe a poster of the New York City skyline bought at IKEA, or one of those watercolor paintings of the beach or a forest, or a famous painting like The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. By the way, if you want to impress your Dutch friends, the correct pronunciation is Vincent van Gogh. Try it. But my point is that those can be pretty posters, pretty pictures, but they're so generic. Like, I want something on my wall that has character, that is my personal choice, something that I resonated with and that doesn't give me Airbnb vibes. Cheesy word art. So cheesy word art is in the same category as generic wall art. I have a few examples here. Dream so big, they call you crazy. She believed she could, so she did. And you're always one decision away from a totally different life. To me, this is just cheesy word art. Like, is it even art? It's soulless, empty. I don't have anything against putting a certain sentence in a frame and hanging it up your wall. I did that in my old apartment, but I made those and they were personal. Like, I had 2 words. One was slow because I wanted to live more slowly, and to me this served as a daily reminder of doing so. And the other one was this too shall pass, which just helped with my anxiety. It helped me have a long-term perspective. Think like, okay, there's always going to be ups and downs in life, but whatever it is, it will pass. But I didn't buy this at some cheap word art store. Branded clothes. I used to spend a lot of money on branded clothes. I started in high school when I had to beg my parents to get me a pair of LA Gear sneakers, which I really wanted. They actually didn't have it in my size, so I went for one size bigger and just told my parents, no, they actually fit. But they didn't. I felt like a clown with those big clown shoes. When I was a student, I didn't have a lot of money, but then when I started working, I started spending money on Hugo Boss jeans, on Diesel pullovers, and Tommy Hilfiger, those wooden pullovers. I was like, I'm making this money and I'm working so hard. What's the point of working so hard if I don't spend that money? And when I learned about minimalism, it was just like a balloon that just popped. It felt so empty. I'm like, what's the point? I can get quality clothes without this label, and it's like 30% of the price. So now I mostly have neutral clothes. Like this thing that I'm wearing right now doesn't have any logo. It wasn't expensive, and it's just as good. Clothes with big logos. Is it just me, or are logos on clothes getting bigger and bigger? I remember a time when the Ralph Lauren logo was just a tiny polo rider, and now it's this big. And I've seen other brands follow suit. And a while back, I guess H&M had this sponsor deal with NASA or something. Everyone was walking around with these shirts with NASA here. I really don't like it. If I wear something like that, I feel like I'm a walking ad for the brand. I prefer plain looking clothes, ideally with no logo. And if it does have a logo, tiny. Soda or juice. I never liked sodas like 7-Up, Sprite or Fanta, and even Coke. I didn't drink much when I was a teenager, and now I haven't had it for decades. When we were on holiday in France, they would have Orangina, which was this drink that at the time you couldn't get in the Netherlands. I don't know how it is now. That I kind of liked because it was like orange juice with a bit of a bubble. But that was about it. And fresh orange juice, I used to really like because I thought this is healthy. It has so much vitamin C. But then I learned that actually it's just liquid sugar. Like 1 glass of orange juice, like 200 milliliters, is the equivalent of 4 sugar cubes. 4 sugar cubes. Yeah, sorry, sugar cubes. Can't pronounce sugar cubes. 4 sugar cubes. So I don't really drink that either. What I drink now is water, cup of tea, which I actually have with me right here, and the occasional cup of coffee. Pajamas. I don't wear pajamas at night for a very simple reason. I get hot easily. So in the summer it's out of the question, and in the winter when I'm cold, I prefer to just sleep under a thick blanket. And if I do want to wear something, I'll just grab a t-shirt from my closet. Cheap giveaways. Have you ever been to a seminar, a promotional event, or a conference where they had this goodie bag with free stuff? You know, it could be a USB stick, a mouse pad, a notepad, pens, a keychain. That kind of stuff can really pile up in your house. And, if you don't really need it, like I don't even want to take it with me, so I'll just leave it at the event. Cigarettes. So this is something I don't often see on the list, but I used to be a smoker a long time ago. I quit smoking cigarettes in 2005. I smoked for about 7-8 years, and I still remember my very last cigarettes because I had quit, and then I had 1 year where occasionally I would still smoke. And my very last cigarette was at a law firm where I did my internship. It was Friday, and this partner walked into my office at the end of the day and said, like, Peter, you don't have to come, you're an intern, but I could really use you on Sunday. And I was there to get a good score, a good grade. So I was like, of course, I'll be there. Sunday I'm there. It's basically him and me on the floor. I worked all day. I was like, I deserve a cigarette. It was so weird. I had quit smoking a year ago, but there was still this mental addiction. And he, the partner, was a smoker. So I walked to him and asked if I could borrow a cigarette. He gave me one. So I got a coffee, cigarette, went outside, and I only smoked half of it. And then I got so nauseous. It was as if it was my first cigarette ever, because I'd hardly been smoking at that point, so my body wasn't used to it anymore, I guess. I walked back in, and I had to lie down on the floor for an hour. That's how sick, how nauseous I was. And I was just hoping the partner wouldn't come in and see me and ask, what's up? Thankfully, this happened on Sunday. And till this day, that is still the last cigarette I smoked. And it saved me so much money. Because when I last smoked, I think a pack of cigarettes maybe cost €4.50 or €5. And now in the Netherlands, it's €11.50, and most of that is tax. And I think I was smoking maybe 20 packs a month. So that easily adds up to, like €220, €230? That's like $240. So yeah, big money saver. And don't even get me started on the health risk that I would have been exposed to if I had kept smoking. Things that look fun or cute in a store. It's easy to fall for the trap of wanting to buy something when you're in a store. You can be surrounded by things that look fun or cute, like a fluffy dog doll. Do you say doll? Like fluffy dog thingy? Whistle with a cute giraffe on it, or a keychain with a carrot cake on it. And it may not be for everyone, but carrot cake is something I really love. We're influenced by our environment. If you're in a coffee shop, you'll probably want to order a coffee. And if you're in a bar, you'll probably feel compelled to order a drink. And it's the same with cute-looking stuff in the store. But the reality is that a lot of those things probably will end up in a drawer over time, because they were really impulse purchases. You didn't really intend to buy them. So I have this rule for myself that I won't buy something in a store if I didn't have the intention to buy that going in. Video games. When I was a student, I had a PlayStation. I loved playing games like Gran Turismo, FIFA, and Tekken 3. Eddie Gordo was my favorite character. He was this capoeira fighter, and he was just constantly in motion. It was really cool. But when I started working, I quit playing video games because I just didn't have the time for it, and honestly, I don't really miss it. Impulse purchases. So that wasn't actually the last time I played video games, because there was this one day where I did this impulse purchase. I woke up hungover on a Saturday morning, and it's like, oh, I really want to play FIFA. So I drove to the local MediaMarkt and I bought an Xbox with 4 games. Besides FIFA, it was some racing game and Batman. And I got home, started playing FIFA, and it's like, FIFA got so much more complicated. When I was playing it as a student, there was like, I don't know, 3-4 combos or something that you needed to like do well. And now it was just much more sophisticated. So then I switched to Batman, and it was also, everything just felt so much more complicated. And it was an impulse purchase. I didn't actually want to put in the work to really learn how to play it. So I never really played it after that, and it just gathered dust. And I've had multiple impulse purchases like this too. Like I had this time when I really wanted to learn how to kite surf. I took a few lessons. I didn't really enjoy it. And then I bought my own gear. But I didn't have a car anymore at that time. And I didn't live next to the beach. So I was dependent on a friend to take me there. A friend who had also bought his own kite gear. But he didn't have a lot of time. So in the end, I think I only used that kite surfing gear like 2 or 3 times. And then for years it was in storage until I was able to sell it to someone else. So lesson learned, those were expensive mistakes, and I'm much more wary of impulse purchases these days. Kitchen sets. My kitchen used to be full of kitchen sets I only used once and then never used again. I remember that time when I hosted a cocktail party for some of my friends, and I bought a cocktail set with a strainer, a shaker, and those martini glasses, but I never used them again after that night. And another time I bought this sushi making set, which I also only used once. It was fun for that one night, but after that it just gathered dust in a kitchen cabinet. So I don't buy those kitchen sets anymore. Collections. I don't collect anything except great memories. Does this sound cheesy? This sounds cheesy, right? When I was young, I collected stickers. I had sticker albums of G.I. Joe, which was an animated series at the time, and Panini football albums. I also had this phase where I collected post stamps, but that didn't really stick. These days, I don't collect anything, and if I'm at a supermarket and they give away stamps or stickers for free, I'll either say no, or I'll take them to give them to kids that are waiting for them outside, to collect them from adults that don't want them, like me. Alcohol at home. I love a good glass of red wine, a Bordeaux, a Burgundy, or a Rioja. But I've also found that if I have wine at home, it's easy to slip into a habit of drinking a glass every night, or maybe even multiple. And it really affects my sleep. I don't feel as rested. I also have very vivid dreams when I drink a glass of red wine. Just one glass can do that. So I have this rule that I don't drink alcohol at home. And sometimes I'll make an exception if we have friends over or family. But that's it. Like if it's just for personal use on a day-to-day basis, no alcohol at home. Plastic Tupperware. Instead of plastic Tupperware, we use glass instead because we want to minimize the amount of plastic we use in the household. And I found that with glass Tupperware, it's also easier to clean if you store sauces or soups in it. Practicing minimalism is an ongoing learning experience for me. These are the choices I made, and they may be different next year. And they may also be different than the choices you make. I just hope that some of these items on this list that I shared with you today were helpful to you and maybe inspire you on your minimalist journey. We work hard for the money we make in this world, and we shouldn't waste it on pointless things. And that's even more important because there's something called the Diderot effect. This means that if you buy something new and bring it into your home, everything else in your home can start to feel bland and pale in comparison, and you may want to go on a shopping spree to replace those things too. If you want to learn how to overcome that, I made a separate video about that, which you can watch right here. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you got some value out of it, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.